Well, hello again. Tonight we have a little bit of a celebration, so we figured let's give you a double, really two tasters, let's say, and two wines, both near and dear to my heart, the actors and the wines. But in any way,
What's the occasion?
just it's my birthday. So this is two wines. Again, there's no similarity here. They both have quite a good amount of bottle age. They're both very high quality. In my opinion, makers I really like quite a bit. And they both have a style that I like, which is more restrained, a little bit more reticent, more deeper. They kind of make you work. But to me, when I sort of peel the layers, I really enjoy that quite a bit. So to start with, we have an Hermitage by Bernard Faurie. We've done a lot of that on this channel with wines by Faurie. This is 1992. So it's quite a 32-year-old. The level was perfect when I first opened it. I opened it yesterday, so there was absolutely no problem. The cork was perfect also. Here we are, completely dry, and so that was really absolutely no problem there. So here we are. You look at the color. Look at this color. It's just still so dark, so deep. It really doesn't look aged at all. Of course, on the rim, you're going to see a little bit of wateriness or a little bit of a lighter color, but that's normal even on some really young wines.
Yeah, the color is such a deep. It's a deep ruby. It's actually pretty pink.
Well, it's got that Syrah. It's a Syrah Hermitage, 100% Syrah. It's got a little bit of that violet tint to it that you get in Northern Rhone Syrah. Yeah. And I think that's to be expected, but it doesn't look aged at all.
It's got a tiny bit of orange around the edges, tiny bit, but it definitely doesn't have the same sort of rust color that I've seen in older wines.
You can smell the camphor. That's sort of the alcohol on the nose. It's 13%, which is pretty good for back then. And then it's got a little bit of, it's still a little bit of floral note, which is again unusual. It's such an older wine of that violet, let's say, that you expect. A little bit of lead, pencil lead, just a tiny sort of kind of, I don't know how to call it, mineral, note to it. Do you get anything else?
Well, when I first smelled it, I said it had a little bit of a fruitiness, like that sweetness of the berry fruit rather than a citrus fruit.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I also felt. I said I could sort of smell the woodiness.
That's kind of like the old sort of maybe old leather or old wood, that sort of patina from the age, I guess, an aged object in a way. To me, on the palate, it's really, in a way, it's just perfect. It's got everything in small doses. It's got a little bit of acidity. It's really well supportive of the rest. It's got nice tannins still that sort of coat the mouth a little bit. Very fine. It's got an amazing finish, which is also very hard to achieve for an older wine. You have the taste in your mouth, even as I'm talking, I still have that. It really doesn't disappear at all. You can feel still the berries, so it's a bit of the primary flavors, the berries, the floral, that the sort of the licorice you expect sometimes to see in some of these wines, because of the soil. A little bit of that sharpness, just a tiny bit. Again, we're talking here small doses. That's why I say this is the one that makes you work. But the whole thing comes together in such a satisfying and easy to drink way. It reminds me of the 2010 Hermitage we discussed on this channel a year or two ago. That was just perfect that you're almost at a loss for really expressing all the things you feel, but you really want to drink more and more of it. I don't know what you want to add.
I think it's an extremely drinkable wine. I feel like it goes down so well. And as you said, it has an acidity, but it's really sort of a complementary acidity. So I feel like there's a little bit of almost like bitterness or sourness that typically comes with red wines, but it's not overpowering. It doesn't leave that the lasting taste in your mouth. It has more flavor than that, and the acidity from the alcohol content doesn't really. It's very much a side to the main event.
Yeah, the thing is also that it was like this yesterday. As soon as I opened it, maybe half an hour later, it was just ready to go. Didn't really need to develop anymore, and it hasn't moved really since. It's still the same to me as it was yesterday. So, I'm very happy to have had it. As we recall, we did the 1987 ones of the same Hermitage, and that one just never came together. It was too acidic, was kind of a little bitter, not pleasant. So I'm not sure if it was the vintage, or as we always say, every bottle of wine can be different. I'm just happy that I liked it yesterday, and I still like it today.
It has now the sort of, as it sits in my mouth, it tastes kind of chocolatey. That chocolate.
I was going to say that, but it's a bit of a cliche, but it does have that dark chocolate.
Yeah, where there's
bitterness.
The bitterness that is not overpowering. It's really complementary to the flavor, and you sort of, that's what you're searching for.
Yeah. Let's move on now to the second wine, which is Foreman, another wine I like a lot on this channel. Forman Cabernet Sauvignon, so Napa. And it's 2003, so another nicely aged wine. 2003 was a pretty good vintage in California. I mean, nothing to really be crazy about, but there was nothing bad about it. And Foreman, as we discussed before, he really just has a knack, to me anyway, for making sort of the Bordeaux blend that is one of the ones that's closest sort of to Bordeaux, but still retaining the character of California. And we'll discuss that as we taste it. So it's primarily Cabernet Sauvignon, 75%. And then the rest is some of the Bordeaux blends, whether it's Merlot and Cabernet Franc. You can go back to some of the earlier videos on Foreman to have a more specific background on the history and how he built his vineyard. I think his first vintage was in the early 80s. And then how much of a following he has for somebody who makes really good wine, but those prices never go in the stratospheric prices that we get in some of the Napa cabs. Anyway, here we are. The color is what you expect from a Cabernet, sort of that Bordeaux look. It's a little bit, it's not very clear, so you don't know if it's the filtration or just the evolution over time. It is dark and
has the thick,
a little bit thick.
Yeah, it feels thick, but you see the thickness obviously much more in the center of it.
Yeah.
And then you'll get the same sort of gradient of color, similar to me as the previous wine, but just border, on the edges.
But the center is darker.
Yeah, the center is you can't see through it basically.
On the nose is still opening up. This one was open, not too long ago, but
I get a lot more almost like citrus.
Well, I get blueberry and blackberry, which maybe are typical of the cabs. And as you really aerate it, you get that, the alcohol, we're talking here 14.5%. So now we're talking really Napa cab. And
I get like a sweet citrus, almost like more like a pomelo.
Could be. I mean, I think you're going to get, you get whatever you get. I mean, there's no debating that. But it has to me the notes that I'm gotten to really love with the Forman cabs. It's really dark and deep without being exuberant. There's never an overpowering on fruit that you get some of the other Napa cabs, even some of the really high-end ones. And it's got that little bit of the tight packaging, that tension that you find in a lot of really high-end Bordeaux. The one thing that strikes me the most is the tannins, that mouth puckering. That's
it's like salty almost.
Well, it's a different feeling. It's really tannins gives you this drying of the mouth, and you go, because it just basically almost like salt in a way. It sucks all the humidity out, and it just makes you
the back of the throat.
And then it does hit you right at the back of the throat, almost like a good scotch.
Like the top.
At the back of the throat. No, here to me it's at the bottom, and a little bit actually in the back, in the top. Sorry, but it's really, it seems to be stuck right here, and then it just goes on and on. You know, it's really quite pleasant. I mean, it's just. Really great aged cab specimen, because it's not going to evolve anymore. All the pieces are there. You got the bitterness, you know, that really comes with a sort of, we were talking about this earlier, but much more pronounced, of the dark chocolate kind, semi-bitterness. You got the explosion of fruit and tannins in the mouth that just take over very quickly. It really spreads very quickly. And then you got the finish that hits you right here in the throat. And it's kind of like, it's a dryness and alcohol and this sort of, you know, like length that stays there, which is just, again, very different wines, but they both have, I think, some of these characteristics of being very well made. They come together very seamlessly. They have some discretion, some reticence, but they have all the pieces that you just have to work at it. I don't know if you agree with that sort of similarity of character.
Yeah, I think that this feels very sort of almost like tightly wound and compact, and it sort of unwinds like a little bit over time as you're tasting it, and it sort of sits with you. But I think, I mean, I like the first one a lot. I think the first one feels more unique. This one feels pretty classic, like a red wine that's going to give you a lot of flavor, that's going to have a little bit of that like bitterness, and that's really going to sort of pack a punch.
Well, I'm glad you like this, because, you know, this is my favorite Priory Maker, and we had together a 2010 Hermitage for your birthday not too long ago. So the video is on the site.
Wine,
you guys can go back and
this wine is older than I am by 6 months.
Yeah.
Less.
Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Cheers, and we're gonna work on these, and then hopefully we'll make good progress tonight. See you soon.